Hey guys, God bless. I hope everybody's doing well. So I had a very interesting day yesterday. I know I haven't told a lot of people or really discussed what I do or anything like that. Well, I guess it's time to do that because I think the Lord has wanted me to do that. I'm not sure if I'm going to post this video or not. I am making it just to put it somewhere for right now and pray on it and continue to ask about it. I'm a detective where I work here in Georgia. I've been working here for about 11 years, and I work in property crime. There's two separate branches. There's what they call major crime and then property crime. I handle mostly car theft, burglary, taking, people stealing, stuff like that. The way it kind of works is, and it's not like uh, it's not like what you see on TV, but I have a computer, I have a queue. My boss puts cases in my queue, and I pick and choose on my own cases to look at based upon triage, which ones need immediate response, which ones can wait a minute, call victims, ask them a little bit more about the case, kind of go about it in my own way. So anywhere at any time, I have between 8 to 15 cases floating, essentially. Some take long, and usually take months to really to get into and really find out who's doing what. Some are very short. Some, maybe 2 weeks, is a good one. I've never had one solved in a day, and that happened yesterday. And I've been doing this for 2 years, a little under, I think, a little under 2 years, somewhere right in there. Anyway, I get a case, and I see this case all the time, folks. Elderly couple have someone come into their home, either to clean it or to do some maintenance. In this case, it was an HVAC system. They leave, and something ends up missing. So I look at the case, and it's an elderly lady. She's 66 years old. And I call her, and I kind of give her the bad news up front. I'm like, unless we got video or I can find out if he sold it or something like that, there's not a whole lot I can do, but I will look into it. And she was very nice. And before we hung up, it caught my attention. She's like, I prayed that this would get into somebody's hands who would look. And I just kind of smiled and said, well, I'll definitely take a look and see what we can do. But I gave her the bad news up front. Normally these cases don't get solved. And it's not like TV. I have to prove it. Just because he came into the house doesn't mean he stole anything. Even though he might have been the only person there in a month. I have to prove all that to be able to take a warrant for his arrest. So, I get the case. I'm looking at it and finish the call, and I call the business. And yesterday was funny. I was supposed to be off at noon because we had been working a big week, and so I was supposed to be off at noon, have an early weekend. I was looking forward to getting out of there, but I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna, I got some time to burn. It's like 10 o'clock. I'm gonna call a few people on this and see what's going on. So I called the business, and the business was very forthcoming with information, but they stood up for him. They're like, oh, he's a great guy. We love him, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, yeah, can I just get some basic information from him, about him? And so I do, and I ask how long he's been employed, and she says a month. And right away that strikes a chord. You haven't been there long kind of thing. So anyway, so I don't know if you guys know this or not, if anyone out there pawns anything anymore. But pawn shops are obviously notorious for stolen goods. So in order to combat that, they've taken everyone's license who pawns things, and they make copies and pictures what the people pawn, and it goes to a database that we have access to. And so I go to plug his information into this database, and sure enough, on the day after he visits, on the 11th of July, he pawns an engagement ring. And so I look at the report and I'm like, yep, she's missing an engagement diamond, wedding set. And I'm like, wow. Because this never happens. People aren't, and I don't want to make fun of this guy, but people just aren't that dumb. They know that that's going to get reported. So I'm very shocked that he sold it that way. And so I look at the picture and I send a picture, or I don't send a picture. I have the victim send me a picture of her ring, and it's a match. So I said, well, in order not to get her hopes up, I was like, I just need a picture of it, and let me look at a couple things before I, go any further. So I call the pawn shop and I tell them that's a stolen ring and I'm going to come pick it up. And they're like, okay. It's an hour drive from where I'm at. This pawn shop where he sold this ring. And I'm like, I'm going to get this knocked out. So I grab a partner. We head down to the pawn shop. It's clear in the heart of Atlanta. And we get the ring. Sign the paperwork over. I take the ring from the pawn shop. According to her, it was a very expensive ring, and I'm not going to mention how much it was, but it was in the tens of thousands, and he pawned it for $900. So I get the ring. We go back. Now it's a matter of, okay, what do we do? Because there's several different options I can do here. I can call him in. I can take a warrant out and just let fate have its course. He gets pulled over by a police officer or whatever, and then they run his license and he pops up for a warrant. Or I could email my warrant unit and have him go pick him up next week. But something told me just to finish this, and then I'm implying that was the Lord. So let me go to my next picture here. So obviously we have a diamond ring missing. I'm sorry, and it was at a pawn shop. So anyway. So we decided to go get the ring. We come back and we're like, okay, let me get on with the judge, get a warrant, and we'll go from there. That way, because my other concern was, okay, so how many houses is he going to service between now and when he gets arrested, and how many things will be stolen? So I was like, I want to get him in jail because I don't want to have 5 victims come, next Friday that he's been in 5 different homes and has stolen things. So we decided to put a quick plan together. Like I said, we've been working burglary cases all week, so it's been very hectic and we're tired and we just want to kind of start the weekend. But, again, listening to the voice, and I'm like, let's go get him today. So I called the place where he worked, and we arranged he was going to be returning a truck, and that would be the time we'd go pick him up. So I get on with the judge, I swear out the warrants, and I get the paperwork. We get everything together, and me and 2 other guys form a small plan, and we go to where he works, and we stage there, and he comes in. And everything goes smooth. He knew why we were there. It wasn't a surprise to him, I don't believe. He was cooperative. It was very smooth and uneventful. So with all of this, there's a lot of little things that you're not seeing. Like we have to arrange for a marked unit. We can't just go there in our unmarked cars to pick them up. There was a lot of little last minute things that we had to tweak. So it was time consuming. It sounds like this is going fast, but it really was a little bit more of an ordeal than what I'm leading on. All this time I can feel the Lord is doing something, but I can't put my finger on it. We have a wedding ring. This lady loves the Lord. She was very adamant about that in the phone call, and just a sweet woman. And so, long story short, I go finish all the paperwork back at the office. It's now, we're looking at 5 o'clock roughly, 4 o'clock. Supposed to have dinner with friends, all this stuff, but I'm adamant I'm going to get the ring back to the victim. And so I called her up and I said, I got your ring and I'm on the way to deliver it to you. And she I get to the house. So this is kind of interesting. So they rent the basement. Her and her husband rent a basement of a much larger home on a lake that's here where I live. And so it's a huge house on the lake. They rent the bottom portion. It's two couples basically live in this house. The owners who live upstairs, and my victim and her husband downstairs. So I go downstairs and knock on the door. She's practically in tears, to get her ring back. And she had told me on the phone call when I first talked to her that it was her anniversary next week, and she was just really sorrowful, that she didn't have her engagement or her wedding set for, this time frame, for what her and her husband had planned. And I was like, okay, I took all this into account and give her ring back, and we're talking. So she is like on fire for the Lord. She's just like, this was a godsend. This has God written all over it. And her husband was a great guy. We talked, and normally I don't do this, but I sat down with him and talked with him, and kind of got to know him for a minute, and she was just like kind of just really taken back, like this all happened in one day. And truthfully, I was too. I haven't had a case like this in 2 years, where you just from start to finish, from a phone call in the morning till 5 o'clock at night, I'm it's closed. The case is closed. It's just because paperwork alone, not necessarily solving it, but just paperwork alone is just crazy. But now it gets interesting. So, she's like, "Do you believe in the Lord?" And I was like, "Oh yes, ma'am, I do. I do, absolutely. I believe our time is very short." And she's like, I know, me too." And she's like, "Look at my calendar over here." So she pulls up this calendar, and I hope you can see this. This is July, although you can't see July. It's written right there. But she's like, "My birthday is the 10th. His birthday is like it was during this week, like 13th, 14th." And she's like, "Look at our anniversary. Our anniversary is, right here on the 26th. We're going to be married such and such years." And I was like, wow, and on the calendar, so she had on the 5th, I think, like there was a wedding cake, or I'm sorry, a birthday cake, and then another birthday cake for her husband. And, over here, there was on the 26th wedding bells. And I was like, wow, and I kind of felt comfortable at this point, and I felt a little bit more open, and because we discussed the Lord, and we actually prayed for the guy that stole it, uh, and just to say that it's a very, we don't know what these people go through. It's very easy to become cynical in this job and just hate people and hate criminals and people that do things that are wrong, and it's very easy to not just point blame at them, which I get it. They share some of that blame, but it's also a spiritual fight that we see that most people don't see, and it's very draining to know that you live in a plane of existence of the physical, but the spiritual is completely in control and affecting it, and for other people to see that and get them to see that is so frustrating. And it's probably one of the most frustrating things I think ever, because you want to tell them, like, hey, yeah, it's his fault. Like, he made bad choices, and now he's getting the results of those bad choices. But there's something else driving him as well, and he doesn't know how to reach out to God for the strength to avoid sin. So we prayed for him. And even the owners of the home came downstairs, and we all prayed together and prayed for this young man, and they had a beautiful prayer for him, to use this to turn him and so on and so forth. And it was just she's like, "Who do I need to call to get you accolades?" And this, I'm like, it was just a very, very, very God-led moment. That's all I can say. I could see God written in all of this. And when she pointed at the 26th and saw the wedding bells, I mean, then it struck me. I was like, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Um, and I said, well, you guys are, you study the Bible, right? And I'm like, then you're familiar with Strong's Concordance. She's like, oh, yeah, yeah. And she had mentioned, the rapture right before I said this. She's like, we don't know when, but we know it's soon, and blah, blah, blah. And the homeowner, he's a Christian, but he was kind of like, yeah, I know, but they've been saying that for a long time, kind of going off. And I was like, you know what? I just feel led to tell him this. I was like, well, Strong 726 is harpazo, and found in Revelation chapter 12. And she just got goosebumps. And she's like, oh my gosh. She's like, I never would have thought of that. And I was like, well, I just feel led to tell you. It's kind of a neat piece of information, if nothing else. And I saw the wedding bells there, and I was just like, Lord, are you telling me something? And that was it. So I kind of closed out, and I get in my car, and I'm by myself, and I'm driving back to my home, and I'm just kind of praying, and I'm like, I don't know what you're doing, because it's been a while since you really spoke to me this way, with just such an overwhelming love, and it's been very difficult. But I had a great moment, driving back to my home and talking to him about it. But I wanted to bring this up. So I did a video a while back called 72688. And I always thought the rapture would be on 726. And I don't know if that's a confirmation. Take it as you will. If not, I think it's a good story. And God bless you all. Take care.